All right, Shalom. Shalom, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And yeah, pretty much as you can see in the title, I.O.B, which in this case stands for Internet of Bodies, or sorry, Internet of Brains instead of Internet of Bodies. Achieving telepathy through technology. Okay, and this is an article that um, I was just reading through, and I found it very interesting the things that were mentioned in here, and as a matter of fact, um, how much they can actually turn this into a possibility. Which the 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 thing about it, as they like to put it, is it's just a matter of time. Okay, but in actuality, it is a matter of time, but it's not a matter of time to develop technology to do this. It's just a matter of time to release it to the public. Okay, because they already have, what, like we always tell you, they already have a lot of these things that they commercialize to the people. They've already had that technology, just not, it wasn't open to the public. Okay, and then they slowly release it and show little teaser trailers and try to prepare people to say, oh, like 10 years from now, we'll be able to do this, or 20 years from now, we'll be able to do that. Well, what you're seeing here says Rand sees quote unquote Internet of Brains by 2050. Elon Musk led Neuralink Corp implanted a brain chip into the head of a 29-year-old man with quadriplegia. The paralyzed millennial was recently seen using what he described as quote unquote the force to move a computer cursor um, around the screen to play Civilization 6 with his mind. Now you have, if I'm remembering correctly, you have telekinesis, which is the ability to like move things with your mind and stuff, and telepathy, which is being able to talk to somebody or read their minds, that kind of thing. Well, um, in this situation, that's pretty much what they are trying to do. Okay, that the headline, the title, "Achieving Telepathy Through Technology," is not an understatement, because as we keep on reading this, you'll find out that this is something that they're actually capable of doing. Now, whether the Most High is gonna allow them to get to that point or not, we're gonna see. But they putting out dates like 2030 and 2050 and all that. Well, I mean, 2050, you're completely out of your mind at that point. There's no way that this things are gonna last until 2050 as they are now. But anyway, let's read a little bit further, right? So it says, this is further evidence that the transhumanism movement, the merger of humans and machines, is accelerating development, fundamentally improving human lives, or at least that's what the billionaires are pitching. And as we keep on going through this, you'll find out that there's a lot more things they want to do. And when the scriptures say that they basically have that God complex, it's not an understatement. Okay, that's they literally want to be able to create life, like this guy Yuval Noah Harari said. Okay, he mentioned, which I have the video there, but he mentioned humans being hackable creatures or hackable animals, and he also mentioned inorganic creation or inorganic quote unquote life. He talked about how the God of the Bible, we know about that already, which he was able to create organic life, which we have now, but they are trying to reach the level of creating inorganic life, you know, which I mean, it's really just they're going to be mimicking what the Most High has already done anyway. But let's keep on reading. So it says here, editor Tim Hincliffe of the tech blog The Sociable posted a creepy quote from a new report commissioned by the UK Defense Science and Technology Laboratory and conducted by RAND, Europe, and Fraser Nash Consulting, that read, an internet of bodies may also ultimately lead to an internet of brains, i.e., human brains connected to the internet to facilitate direct brain to brain communication and enable access to online data networks. This is the way that they achieve telepathy through technology, and it doesn't stop there. Okay, now a couple of things that need to be, um, I guess, hashed out before they can achieve this level. Which I was watching a video. I wish I could find it, but it was Elon Musk. Let me see. Maybe I can find it here. Let's see. Elon Musk explaining Neuralink. Hope I can find it. He was explaining. Oh, this is also another interesting one that I recommend going to watch. What's interesting about it is, this guy asked Elon Musk, so what is the Neuralink? Like, what's the whole deal with that? His reply is, oh, it's an implant that we put into your brain to control you. And he says it with a pretty much with a straight face. The guy laughs about it like it's a joke. And then the question comes up again. He asks him again, and Elon Musk repeats the same thing with a serious face. Okay, and people think, oh, haha, he's funny. He's just cracking a joke. Okay, it's funny until it's not. Until you find out that it's actually reality. I want to find out which. He was on like a talk show, not something like this, but it looked almost like a TED talk. And I hope I can find it. But if I can, I'll just summarize pretty much what the point that I'm trying to make here, which is that, yeah, would you look at that? Which is that uh, he's basically talking to these two people on the panel, right? And he's telling them that they're asking about the Neuralink and all those different things. And I forgot the exact question that they asked him, but what he said was, right now the primary like slowing factor is trying to when it comes to interfacing humans and machines, okay, is eliminating I.O. Okay, I.O stands for input and output. And what that means is, as an example, when you have a computer or a desktop and you want to use it, you have something like a keyboard or a mouse or a video camera or a microphone or a speaker. These are I/O devices, right? Input and output. And what they do is they basically allow you to communicate with the actual computer, the actual machine, and vice versa, right? So they are like an interface between you and the actual machine. So when you want to turn on your computer, you press the power on button, and then the computer comes on. When you want to, like, I'm moving this mouse right now, or I want to move the mouse here and I want to click this. So that's what the mouse is going to do. The mouse is going to send that information to the computer, and the computer is going to do what I need to do, right? A monitor, for example, right? A monitor is another I/O device that shows me whatever is happening inside the computer. So it's like a way to communicate or to link us to the machine. Now, what the problem that he is mentioning here is that creates like this slowdown, right? Because we can't directly control the machine. We have to go through these input output devices in order to do that, right? So when you have something like a brain, a brain implant, a brain C-hip, there's still that form of input output. You say, okay, do this, and then that gets told to the computer, then the computer does it, and then the computer tells you, okay, I've done it. But if you can eliminate that step in between, where instead of you having to go through a medium to get the machine to do something, You and the machine are sort of one, similar to how your brain works, right? Your brain and your body are sort of one. There's no, like, your brain sends these signals, fires off these neurons and sends these signals, and your body reacts right away because it's all part of your structure. Your brain doesn't need to go through another interface before it can, say, hey, do this, and then your body's like X, Y, and Z. So that's pretty much the first thing he was saying, right? That's like, if we want to fully merge man and machine, we need to first, find a way to actually merge them, without having to have this middleman. But going back to what was said here, when they mentioned an internet of bodies or an internet of brains, I mentioned this before in a different video, but it's sort of, it's good to have like a basic understanding of how these things work, because then it doesn't seem like magic. It demystifies it, and you can sort of understand a bit more as to what they're referring to here. Now, when they talk about an internet of, like, maybe just a regular internet, the whole point of the internet was to allow one machine or one computer to be able to, like, send information to another computer. That's it. It's like, okay, if I have a laptop, right, and maybe I have this Word document, or I have this video on my laptop, but you have a laptop and I want to get this video onto your actual laptop. Originally, there was no way to do that. And then at some point it was like, okay, maybe we get like a flash drive. So I plug the USB, into my computer, and then I download my video to the flash drive. Then I walk that flash drive to your computer, plug it in your computer, and then you can now put it onto your computer, right? The whole point that they wanted to do was they wanted to connect these machines in a way where I don't got to keep walking around with flash drives, plug it here, plug it here, plug it there. Okay. And so on a basic level, that's why you have, the internet. And all it is a network. You're in your house. What you have there is a network that just says, connect all the devices in my house to somebody else's network, and that's why you have a router. So your computer can send information through your router to another network, and that's all it is. Okay, it's just a bunch of different devices connected to each other on a basic level, right? So that's how the internet works. Now, if you that's with a computer to another computer, or a phone to another computer, or something like that. So imagine them taking something like that, and then now they're saying, instead of having a network of computers connected all around the world through different routers sending information one to another, let's substitute the computers with brains. And this way we can say, I can send like a text message, right? If I send a text message from my phone to another brother, or my friend or something, when I press send, that information travels from my phone. If it's via Wi-Fi, is sent through radio waves, and then, to the router. And then the router takes that information, passes it to the next router. Then it passes it to the next router, and so on and so forth, until it gets to my friend's address. And then it goes to his router and then to his phone, and he sees the message. But it just happens so fast. All right. So that is basically how that information travels. Now, what if instead of using a phone, I was using my brain? What that would require is, you need to be able to translate my thoughts or my electrical signals from my brain into some digital information that can then travel from router to router to router onto my friend's house, and then to his brain. And that's what they're trying to achieve here when they mention this. When they mention the internet of brains. So that's why I mentioned Elon Musk in the first place, which is to say, well, what Elon Musk is trying to say is, if we can convert, which that's what they're doing with the Neuralink, right? The Neuralink is a ability to take your thoughts, because remember I mentioned neurons, right? Your brain sends electrical signals. Well, guess what? Your phone, your computer, all of those are electrical signals. The way your computer works is based off of electrical signals. One signal says turn on, one says off, on, off, on, off. Well, that's kind of like how your brain works as well. So what they'll do is they'll say, oh, well, Well, if we can just use an interface, which is going to be that chip in your head, and then your electrical signals from your brain go into the chip takes it and converts it and sends it to a actual machine. So the chip is like the middleman that says, oh, the brain said this, and then it tells that to the computer. Well, if it can do it one way, it can do it in the reverse, right? Like a translator. So the brain sends a signal, the chip interface takes it, converts it to like some machine language, and then it gets sent to the machine. That's how this quadriplegic guy is able to control computers and things with his mind, which they call the force. All they did was say, instead of putting a keyboard or a mouse and saying, okay, when you click this icon, let me see. Yeah, like when you click this icon here, this image is going to pop up. Well, when I click the mouse, there's some digital information sent to the computer. So all they did was say, well, take away the mouse and just put it instead of a mouse, make it a chip and put it in your brain. And then instead of me using my finger to click, well, I just think the thought of clicking, and it'll take that and convert that and say, okay, well, he thought to click the image and show it on there. So they're taking devices like this and they're saying, well, we can connect this to somebody else's head. Now there was a video, I forgot exactly what video it was, but in the video there were two women, and I think this is from a TV show or a movie, and there were two women. They went to sit down to have like coffee or whatnot. One of them was just like insisting on uh meeting with the other chick. And damn, I really wish I could find that video. Let me see. Girl makes phone call with her hand or head. Let me see. Brain. I really wish I could find it. I really can't. But the point is, she tells the chick, she said, "Yo, you gotta come see this. You gotta come see this. You gotta check this out." So the chick is like, "What?" And what she does is she makes her hand into a form of like a phone, like when somebody says "call me," but they use their hand, and she's able to actually call her friend who's sitting directly across from her's phone, and the girl's phone starts ringing, and so the girl picks it up, and she's like, "Hello," and then the one who has the implant puts her hand to her head and says, "Hello," and guess what? The other chick can hear her. So she's able to actually talk to this chick without an actual phone, because all the technology that was in the phone was now inside of her. And she was able to use that to communicate with this other chick. Well, guess what? If that other chick didn't have a phone, but instead had the same technology inside her body as the first chick, well, now they're talking to each other without an actual phone, because all those devices are inside of their head or inside of their body. So all this girl has to do is say, she thinks the thoughts, like, where's this guy at? Let's go back to this guy. Where was he? The one that they mentioned. Yeah, this guy, right? This 29-year-old man. Let me see if I can. It says here, I am using the force. Musk's brain CHIP allows paralyzed man to play Civilization 6. And let's see if there's some stuff on that. Right, it says Chapman shows how Arbo uses his mind to move a cursor around a screen to play a game of chess. It feels like I'm using the force on a cursor, referring to the movie Star Wars. In a post on X, Musk reposted the Neuralink broadcast, commenting, live streaming of Neuralink demonstration, quote unquote telepathy. You see that? Controlling a computer and playing video games just by thinking. And that's because that implant in their mind is taking that. Yes, that's what it was. Khan, the water. Yeah, the water, bro. Let me copy this. Let's see if I copy this. I remember that. Yeah, yeah, let's do that. But before we get there, right, let me finish this point. So his brain implant is converting, because your brain signals are not the same as whatever instructions the computer needs. his brain implant is able to say, oh, when the brain fires off these signals, these electrical signals, take that and convert that to say, oh, the person wants to move the mouse. So now move the actual mouse. So let's see what he says here. How does the Neuralink brain C-hip actually work? Let's see if I can zoom in on this. The brain consists of special cells called neurons that transmit signals to other cells in the body, like our muscles and nerves. The electrodes of the Neuralink C-hip are able to read these signals, which are then translated into motor controls. This could control external technologies like computers or smartphones, or bodily functions like muscle movement. That's pretty much all it is. Make a device that can speak two languages. It can speak this motor control language, or this like machine language, and it can also understand brain signals. So that's all you need, and put it right there in the brain. So anytime a signal comes from the brain, it goes through the machine spits it out as machine language. And that machine language is fed to a computer. The computer says, oh, you want me to do this. That's all this implant is able to do. But it's performing like like miracles, you know, and it's going past just being able to control or type a message with your brain. But like Elon Musk said, telepathy. Okay, if this man, right, if this man, this paraplegic man, has this device in his head, and there was maybe somebody else who also had this device in their head, well, where they're going when they say an internet of brains is to say, allow this man, this paraplegic man, to connect with this other man who also has this Neuralink in their head. And now, instead of this man controlling a mouse or sending a text message with his brain, well, just send a message directly from his brain through his Neuralink to the next person's Neuralink to their brain, right? Because like the diagram that I showed over here, you see how it goes from step 1, 2, and 3? Or it can also go in reverse order, right? This Neuralink can perform in reverse order. And it can take the brain signals, convert it into machine language, and then tell the computer to do something. Well, it can work the other way. Some information comes back from the computer, like what I mentioned before, right? With input and output. When you can input is when you send information to the computer. You type a button on the keyboard, that's information going to the computer, right? Well, the computer sends information back to you. That's output. That's why you have a monitor, so you can see what the computer is sending back to you. That's why you have a speaker, so you can hear what the computer is sending back to you, right? So it goes one way, then it goes in a reverse. So you send information through this Neuralink. Well, when information comes from a computer or some other device, some smart device, that information comes back to the Neuralink and then to your brain. Guess what? When your brain tells your arm, hey, move over here, and let's say your arm moves and accidentally it touches something sharp, there's those same neurons are sent, there's information sent through your physical body senses back to your brain that says, "Ooh, I just touched something sharp." Then your brain sends another one saying, "Move your hand now," and then your hand moves. So there's information traveling both ways. Okay, and that's what this thing is doing. So once again, going back to the point, and I'm being very explicit, but I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. So once your brain sends that signal and this device converts it to to the computer instructions, guess what? It works in a reverse way. Why is that important? Well, let's take the example that I said earlier, right? Man A has this Neuralink in his head. Woman B, or let's just say woman, also has this Neuralink in her head. What's gonna happen? He's gonna think, hey, good morning, right? Or good morning, sweetheart. Today, what we would do is, well, you wake up, you stretch a little bit, you reach for your phone, you take out your phone, you're like, it's good morning. Let me text Shorty over here, or, whatever. So you grab your phone, you click messages. If you have an iPhone, for example, you type, hey, good morning, sweetheart. Then you press send, right? And when you press send, what happens over there? Let's see. Maybe this would be Slack. I'm trying to pull up something in the background that can be. All right, maybe we could just use this. Yeah. So when you press send, what happens? Let's say you this guy, right? You're this guy. You woke up, you texted your phone, you sent this message to Shorty, right? That message, like I said, is gonna go to your router, and then it's gonna go to what's called the internet. Is not some actual cloud up in the air. All it is this is gonna go to the next person next to you, their router, and then it's gonna keep going, keep going, keep going through router to router to router, and each router is gonna do just that. It's going to route that information. Hey, what's up, sweetheart? That goes to this router. Hey, what's up, sweetheart? I'm looking for, my shorty. She lives on, I don't know, West Village Avenue. The router says, oh, that's this way. So it sends that information to the next router. And it just repeats the process until that information gets to West Village Avenue, to her router, to her phone. Then she gets a notification that says, hey, what's up, sweetheart? She's like, oh, he's so sweet. Let me reply with some two hearts and the sunshine. Then she sends that reply, and the same thing happens backward. So today, that's what you would do, right? Because you got a phone. Well, in the future, with digital telepathy, that's not what you would do. With digital telepathy, what you would do is instead of grabbing your phone and typing, hey, sweetheart, you'd wake up and then you think it in your head, like this guy did. You think it, what's her name? You're looking for who? Oh, you're looking for like they have in those futuristic movies. You see those interfaces in the air, and then you just say, okay, I want to send a message to Emily, and I want to say, hey, sweetheart. So you think that, and when you think it, guess what? Those thoughts go into the Neuralink. The Neuralink sends it as a message, and then it goes through the same thing I just showed you here. Except instead of your phone, it's coming from a Neuralink from your brain. And it's going to router to router to router to router to router. And then it comes into Shorty's Neuralink. And then her Neuralink takes that information, converts it to electrical signals, and it's into her brain. And all of a sudden, you didn't move a muscle, but this girl that lives 3 states down knows that you just said, you're literally talking to her from your head. You're thinking thoughts to her, and she's receiving it through her Neuralink. It's translating into brain signals, and she's like, oh, so I'm having a conversation with X, Y, and Z. This is just, obviously when they actually, or hopefully they don't even get to this, but if they were actually to try and set up something like this, it would be much more complicated and detailed than that. But this is just like a basic rough idea of how something like that would work, to show you that they have the technology to do these things. Okay, so let's read a little bit more, right? As the guy quoted and said, an internet of bodies may also ultimately lead to an internet of brains, i.e., human brains connected to the internet to facilitate direct brain-to-brain communication. So what's going to connect them to the internet? Well, their brain implant. But you know what else this means, right? This doesn't just mean that Tom is sending Emily a message, but it also means that just like you can send stuff from your computer to somebody else's computer, you know what a hacker can do? A hacker can lie in between, your message or your router and her router. And then as he's waiting, when your message comes through, because it's going from one place to another, right? One router to another, he's just waiting. And as he sees it coming to her, oh, let me grab a little bit of that and see what exactly is he sending her. So they can intercept your message and find out what's being said over there. Well, if they can hack your computer via the internet, will they not be able to hack your brain? But not even worried about a hacker who has some malicious intent towards you. What about the government? What about the authorities? You know how, you go in for some way, you go on some website, you start searching up certain things that are considered illegal or potentially dangerous, and all of a sudden the FBI is at your door. How did they know what you were looking up? You sent it from your computer. They're not in your house. They're not looking behind you. So how did they know that this is what you were looking up? How did they know it was coming from this address and it came from this computer and then they found you and hunted you down? How did they know that? Well, if they were able to get all that information from your computer, what about your brain? What happens if you think a certain thought like, man, this place is so whack. Man, the current president, man, they got to get him out of there. Could this introduce something like, I don't know, the thought police on a digital level? I mean, they did say in their commercial, I think it was either WEF commercial or one of them, where they mentioned how they want to get to a point where, one, there's going to be no such thing as humans. Everybody's going to be is going to have some level of augmentation. You're going to be, changed to some degree. But two, they need to now get access to your brain. So check this out. So they can make sure your brain is a safe space for you. Well, that's where we at, folks. Anyway, direct brain-to-brain communication and enable access to online data networks. So what's another example of something they can do? Well, I mentioned you can send a message from you to, I don't know, Shorty, right? And I don't know, talk to her via your brain. But just like you can take your phone and send a text message to somebody, you can also do other things with your phone, right? You're reading a certain book. There's a certain part that the author speaks and quotes something and it's in Latin. Well, what do? You say, let me go on Google Translate. Let me type in this thing in Latin and it'll translate it to English for me. Or remember, not too long ago, Elon Musk was talking about how you can have a digital avatar and you can go to Japan and you may not understand how to speak Japanese, but you can download it into your head. Well, if you got a device in your head that can translate whatever it is from the internet into brain signals for you, why wouldn't you be able to do that? And all of a sudden, the movie The Matrix, doesn't seem too far-fetched anymore, right? They plug something into the back of your head, and now you're in this world where anything is possible. Anyway, so it says here, Rand describes, but now mind you, this is just one aspect. Remember, and I have the video here. When you listen to what this guy, this guy's name, what's his name? Yuval Noah Harari said. He mentioned you have the regular humans, but at some point you're going to be either upgraded or augmented, or then the other thing he mentioned was just straight up the inorganic life. Okay, so you have augmented humans, which is like this example that I just listed here. When somebody puts a device like this in your mind, well, you can do more than the average person can, but you're not the same anymore. You've been changed. But you know how they're going to paint it? They're going to paint it as though you've been made better, right? But this is just one aspect. And as we keep going, you'll see that they have other intentions in mind. So Rand describes a future of the Internet of Bodies ecosystem that may morph into the Internet of Brains, i.e., a network of brain-to-brain connectivity. This technology could find itself in the marketplace between 2035 and 2050. Well, 2035 is really just a little over 10 years from now. Now, when I say just, I mean considering what they're trying to do. It's really just 10 years from now. Because remember, we're in 2024. That's roughly, very roughly 5 years from 2030. Lord willing, we don't got to be here that long. Lord willing, we out here this year. But just for the point's sake. So it says here, and maybe I can pull up this image, zoom in a little bit. All right, you see this right here? There you go. I.O.B examples. You have a cochlear implant, depression headset, augmented reality contact lens, wearable UV monitor pacemaker, electric or electronic tattoo. Oh, you see that? Do you see that right there? Micro what? Okay. Smartphone with health apps, prosthetic, self-lacing shoes. I mean, this is where they're going. Okay. This is where they're going. Then you got a baby, right? They got temperature sensing pacifier, anti-drowning monitor, sleep tracking Odyssey, Bluetooth connected diaper, wearable baby monitor. Like, bruh, you're oh man. Then you got this lady over here. She has what was that? Intraocular lens with camera, internet connected glasses, so she can basically use the internet from her glasses. Tooth mounted sensors, electronic pill, clothing with temperature monitoring, fertility measurement device, artificial pancreas. What? Temperature bracelet, smartwatch and fitness tracker, Bluetooth connected hearing aid, meditation headset. But in order to do this, imagine, look, a lot of these devices, when they're not connected via a wire, they send information using radio waves. Okay, that emits radiation. Okay, there's radioactivity right there, and so imagine all of that into the human body. There's a certain limit that the body just wasn't made to handle. And that's why in Revelation, I think 16, it talks about how those that took the mark got a grievous sore. Okay, so let's go back. At least you're seeing where the future is going. Transhumanism implies the adoption of considerably advanced technologies by 2050, including brain-to-brain communication and genetic enhancement, and thus depend. So you know what? I'm planning to have a child with whatever. Oh well, you can come on to the center. Like today, you have Planned Parenthood. Oh, what would you like your child to look like? Use this interface and customize them. So now you're in a world where before you have a child, you're like, I want him to be 6 feet tall. I want him to be able to run at this speed. I want the hair color to be like this. Let's make his eye color this, and I'm going to explain to you how that's going to be possible, because all that information is stored in your DNA. What's your eye color? What's your hair color? Also, all these things, and those are all made of cells that follow the blueprint in your DNA, and they go about and they make it happen. But guess what? These people have found a way to interface with your DNA as well. So it's not just your brain. Anyway, and thus a genetic enhancement, and thus depends on resolving the various scientific and engineering barriers currently characterizing the field, the report said. According to the report, the technological applications for this new brain network include wearable devices and implants. So the in actuality, the MOTB, like the micro C hip, that is just going to be one of many devices. Okay, that is going to be part of this digital world, this digital age. Of course, it's going to play a prominent role. Anyway, wearable devices and implants, right? Which this guy, what's this guy's name? That's this bald weird guy, Edomite looking, Klaus Schwab. Yeah, that's what he was saying. For tracking and analyzing physiological and environmental data. Example, biochips and implantable sensors. These technologies aim to achieve real-time continuous monitoring of physiological data to understand human health conditions and performance. But keep this in mind, because you know what else this is going to be used for? When they monitor you, right? They find out how many beats, per minute is your heart going. What are you thinking? How are you feeling? On a normal day, how does your body function? When you're sick, how does your body function? What do your vitals look like? All that information is data, and data is one of the most valuable commodities that you can give them. And guess what? They're going to use that. They're going to use all of it. Well, if I wanted to create a human being, the first thing I need to do is understand how a human being works. But me as a man with just one brain, limited time, I get hungry and all these things. There's no way I can, even in my whole lifetime, I can understand fully how a human being works. But you know who probably can? Maybe some AI, some algorithms, right? Because what's the difference between me and an algorithm or some software? Let's see. I have one brain. It takes me longer to process things. Do you know why it is that computers are able to do things so fast? Because the way the amount of time it takes you to even press a button is more than enough time for the computer to do like a million different things at once and then still come back and wait for you to press it. So let's just say the computer thinks on a much faster level than you do. And on top of that, the computer is not limited to be just one. You can have an algorithm that runs the whatever computations you want, like, and it can multiply itself by 10,000, 20,000, 30,000. So now imagine 30,000 super algorithms all running certain operations that you need them to do. Oh yeah, I bet they can understand how humans work. And that's what leads into what Noah Harari was talking about when he said humans are hackable creatures. Because when you hack something, you need to first understand how does it work. And when you understand how it fully works, you can manipulate it. Right? So let's read a little bit more. And you can see how, like we're saying here, right? These technologies aim to achieve real-time continuous monitoring of physiological data to understand human health conditions and performance. Well, you can see how easily that can be integrated into the medical field. And when that happens, well, you coming over there with your files and your card so they can try to look up your health history, they're going to tell you, look, our systems, they can't do that anymore. You know, because when they upgrade their software, all of them use systems, they use technology. So if you go there and you're like, well, before you guys used to be able to pull up my records, and they'll say, well, that was back when we used to use, like, I don't know, Athena or some software, and we would type in your name. But everything has been upgraded from that. We don't even use keyboards. You just have to scan your device and all your information will pop up. But there's no way for us to access your information without you scanning your device. Everything has been upgraded to that. You can see how easily they can go in that direction. Right. The next thing they say here is sensory augmentation technologies, such as hearing and retinal implants designed to improve or augment sensory activities, particularly vision and hearing. So you as a human being can now have the ability to maybe zoom in on something. Guess what? Your retina works like a camera, or sorry, a camera works like a retina. It mimics how your eye works, the lens and all that. Well, all the things you see are really just light, different rays of light hitting your eyes at different angles. Your retina is like a screen in the back of your eyeball, takes all of that and then converts it and shows your brain a picture and says, this is what the eyes are seeing out there. This is what the world is showing right now. So your retina, your eyes, all of those systems, all the stuff the Lord put there to make your eyes work properly. That's why you can look at something far and you can look at something close. With a camera, you got to adjust the lens to focus in on something. With your eyes, it happens naturally. Your eyes already do that. When you're very, very close to something, like you ever try to take a picture with your iPhone or your camera, and if you're too close, it's blurry. You have to like go back a little bit so the camera can focus. Well, how come that doesn't happen with your eyes? Because it happens normally and naturally. Well, guess what? With your camera, what you can do that you can't really do with your eyes is you can zoom in, you can zoom out. Well, with these sensory augmentation technologies, soon you'll be able to look at something that's very, very far away. And with the help of some augmentation, you can zoom in on it and make it look like it's super close. These sound like miracles, no? Anyway, which we'll get there. You have, like it says, particularly vision and hearing. If somebody was, if somebody is deaf, right? If somebody is deaf and they can't hear, what Esau says is, okay, let's think about this again. Your ears are there to, they convert the vibrations into, once again, signals. Everything goes down to signals, right? Because your brain is this thing here doesn't change. The way your brain operates doesn't change. It's always going to be sending signals and receiving signals. Your body parts are modeled a certain way to do a certain job. Like, why doesn't your ear look like an eyeball? Because the ear doesn't look at things, the ear listens to things. So the ear has to be designed that way to be able to do its job, right? And at the end of the day, whether it's your eyes, whether it's your nose, whether it's your ears, whether it's the taste buds on your tongue, they all send signals the same way to your brain. It all comes down to sending those same signals that your brain understands. So, well, if Esau says, this person, for some reason, their ear is not able to do that job appropriately, why don't we just bypass that then? If all the ear has to do is take information and then convert it, vibrations, whatever, convert it into a certain, signal and send it to the brain, well, we can do that. We can maybe put something in here and that thing can pick up those vibrations, do the conversion and send that to your brain, bypassing the actual ear itself. So if you're deaf, you can still hear, right? And now all of a sudden, oh, wow, Slakia, let me share that again. Now all of a sudden, look, he's able to do things, like he's able to perform these miracles. He's able to do all these crazy things that, we weren't able to do before. So sensory augmentation and technologies, you have smart prosthetics are a related category, including exoskeletons, i.e. whole body robotic suits that enhance the user's physical capabilities and improve their mobility, strength, endurance, and other capabilities. Now you can run faster. Now you can run for longer without really getting tired, because guess what? They're going to the point where they can have technology inside your body analyzing, oh, okay, when somebody gets tired, what is happening? When fatigue sets in, what's actually happening? What chemical reactions are happening within the body? What biological processes are happening within the body when somebody starts to get fatigued? And when they understand that, they can say, okay, well, as this person is running, if they're running and at this rate, maybe the cells are releasing this or your body is releasing this, put technology inside of their body to slow that down. So now they're running, but they're not getting tired as quickly, because now you're messing with the biological processes inside of their bodies to get a certain outcome. That's all this devil does. He does. That's why his technology is always gathering information, so they can understand how it works and they can play with it. Instead of just living life, man, you got all this money, you trillionaires, all this money, and you can't just chill. Anyway, but that's what they were created to do. Yeah, Khan, like the Zaquan said, yep, pseudo miracles, and that's exactly what it is. But see, like the scriptures say, if it were possible, they would deceive the very elect, but they can't. But guess what? These miracles are going to look real to those that the Lord hasn't opened up their eyes. They're going to accept that quick. Like my man over here, he happy with it. I mean, think about it, right? Like if you are imagine living life as a paraplegic. Imagine how daunting it is, like how painful it is, to where you're either paralyzed or you're disabled to some degree, and you can see other people doing the things you want to do, but you can't do it. And what makes it worse is, imagine if this happened at maybe like when you were 18 or 20, just as you were in your youth. So you know what it's like to walk, run, smell, jump, whatever it is that you can't do right now, you used to do it before. And now you really miss it. You've seen others doing it. You can't do it. Oh, you got into an accident after you had your child, and now they're growing up and you can't play catch with them. You can't take them to the baseball game or whatever it is. You can't do those things. Well, if they came to you and said, hey, now you can. Just let us put this device inside of you. That person would, the second they heard something like that, before you even finish your sentence, boom, they're right there. So Esau plays on that. Okay, because at that point, that person, if they're not of the elect, their mindset is not, oh, let me just endure it, pray, have faith. No. They're gonna look to it. They're gonna say faith versus, and faith is what? Something they can't even see. So they're gonna look at that and say, Do I just sit here and do nothing? Because that's what people look at it as. When you tell somebody to have faith, in their mind, they look at it as you're doing nothing. Or on the left hand, there's something right before your eyes that, hey, according to them, has been proven to work. All you gotta do is pull up. So you have the next brain-computer or brain-brain interfaces that establish direct communications between human brains and or computer devices. The latest example of transhumanism is Neuralink's brain, CHIP. And so what you're seeing is the actual implant, like this goes beyond just a device being put in your body. We're talking about like them revolutionizing the world to the point where like all of these things become your daily life. Okay. So let's take a look at this video. The first human Neuralink patient who is paralyzed, controlling a computer and playing chess just by thinking.
I think it just became intuitive for me to start imagining the cursor moving. Basically, it was like using the force on a cursor, and I could get it to move wherever I wanted. Just stare somewhere in the screen, and it would move where I wanted it to, which was such a wild.
Yep. There you go. So imagine that. People are seeing that and they're like, wow, oh my gosh, look at all the things he's able to do. Goodness gracious. Let's go there real quick. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 13, verse 15. Actually, verse 14. And he deceiveth them that dwell on the earth. Yep. By the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast. And those pseudo miracles are not done by spiritual power. They're done through technology. But the Lord gave them that. Okay. But through that, they deceive them that dwell on the earth, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast which had the wound by his sword and did live. Now look, imagine you're this guy, right? Let's go back here. Imagine you're this guy. They've come up to you and now they've showed you like, hey, this is just the beginning. You can control things with your mind. Like next step, we can give you a whole new body that you can move and control with your mind. This is the world ahead. Don't you want to be a part of it? This is the new system we're trying to implement. This is the new world we're trying to implement. Wouldn't you want to be a part of that? Guess what? He would want to be a part of that, right? So through the deception of their pseudo miracles, they're able to entice people to say, leave all that old traditional stuff, the Bible, the God, the faith and all that. What has that done for you? Look at the world today. You know, people have been having faith for centuries and look at all the things that have been happening in the world. Well, with this, you can come on with us. You know, come worship the beast, come worship the image, come join this new world and you can have all these things we're showing you. And people are gonna be, hey, look, where do I sign up? You know, where do I sign up? Now, the next thing that I wanted to talk about, which I mentioned before, was similar to how they have this situation with your brain and the interface with your brain and all that. There's something that I found out here, which was, as you can see, DNA digital data storage. Okay, and basically what this is, I'll read just a little bit of it, but what this is basically they're now able to store digital information instead of on a computer or a flash drive or your phone or the cloud, which is really just another big ass computer. Now they're trying to store it in DNA. Okay, they're trying to store it in DNA. Now, like even pictures are stored on computers, right? But on a computer, a picture is not what you think it is. On a computer, a picture is just because all the computer understands are ones and zeros. So what they have to implement is a system of converting what you see as a picture, which is just different colors, positioned differently, into ones and zeros, and converting it back. So whenever they see a certain sequence of ones and zeros, they convert it into this picture that you see. Well, if they can do the same thing with binary information, ones and zeros, well, they just got to understand how is DNA stored? How is information stored in your DNA? And then they do the same thing. Oh, take this picture, convert it into the format that can be stored in the DNA, and then whenever we need it, take that DNA instruction and then convert it back to this picture. Now it says DNA digital data storage is the process of encoding, which when you encode something, you basically codify it. You put it into a code form. And decoding, opposite of that, take something from a coded form and then translate it into something else. Binary data, which is ones and zeros, to and from synthesized strands of DNA. While DNA is a storage medium, or as a storage medium, has enormous potential because of its high storage density, its practical use is currently severely limited because of its high cost and very slow and read and write times. Meaning, it takes a long time if you want to go through the process of, when you read it, what it's saying is take the information from the DNA, translate it here, get it here, turn it into this, and now I can understand it, and then vice versa. In June of 2019, scientists reported that all 16 gigabytes of text from the English Wikipedia had been encoded into synthetic DNA, which is artificial DNA. In 2021, scientists reported that a custom DNA data writer, right, had been developed that was capable of writing data into DNA at 18 megabits per second. So they can take information from a computer, from whatever, and turn it and store it inside of DNA. And all they do is they say, well, inside of DNA, these are the sequence. Like instead of using ones and zeros, like us, we use the decimal system, right? So that's base 10, meaning you go from 0 to 9 and then you go up a digit, right? From 0 to 9, then you get to 10 and start up again, right? And then all the way up to 20 and start up again, or really 19 and then start up again, and then 29 and start up again. So that's base 10. You go up to from 0 to 9, that's 10 digits. Well, here they use base 3 in order to, accommodate these letters, A, C, G, all these good things. All this really means is they're able to store information inside of DNA now. But what that means, the more important part of that is they understand or are understanding how information is stored in your DNA, how to read it, how to identify it, and how to manipulate it. Okay. So if they can think about it, right? If you can have a data writer to write data into DNA, then you can have a data reader to read data from DNA. And that means you can then take somebody's DNA and then you can find out, oh, which part of the DNA says that their eye color should be green. Well, you have the ability to do that now. Which part of the DNA says that their eye color should be red? Okay. Well, can I write that maybe their eye color should be green instead of red or yellow instead of blue? No, these are the things they're working on. So this is on the DNA front, but it gets even better. Okay, now this is an article from NYU. This came out back in 2021. And as you can see in the headline, scientists create artificial cells that mimic living cells' ability to capture, process, and expel material. Now, you know, cells are very, very tiny, right? But they do a very big and mighty job. So they're creating artificial cells. They have the ability to create, synthetic DNA, artificial DNA, and manipulate it. And, cells get their information from the DNA, all of that RNA, messenger RNA, all of that stuff. I'm not an expert in that. I'm not going into that. But the point here is they can create artificial cells. They can manipulate DNA. And if you look into it, you'll find some articles as to where they've actually been able to create a very, very, very small level of what would mimic a living creature, like some form of a bacteria, but using artificial cells and artificial, materials. Okay, so I'm not going to read this article, but I will leave it in the comment section of this video. You can go and check it out if you want to, but just know that they have the ability to do this. They're doing these kinds of things as we speak. And when they bring out these articles, when they bring out a lot of these findings, they're publishing their findings, meaning they're making it public, which means that it's not September 8th, 2021, that they discovered that they can do these things. They've been working on it for a long time. They just decided to bring it out or publish it on X date. Okay. So lastly, I want to go here um, to this right here. And there are many videos of this guy and what he is saying. But in here is where he talks about, what we mentioned before, or what I mentioned before, which is the humans being hackable animals. Okay. So let's listen to that real quick.
Is happening in the world.
We are facing enormous challenges, unprecedented challenges. I mean, when you try to look beyond the constant news cycle of every day, I think three major threats present themselves as major threats to human civilization itself. And these are nuclear war and ecological collapse and technological disruption. I think the most important thing to know about living in the 21st century is that humans are now hackable animals. To hack a human being means to understand that human better than he or she understand themselves, which was never possible in history before on a massive scale. I mean, on an individual level, yes. My mother, at least until a certain age, knew me better than I knew myself. And that was good because her interests were aligned with mine. And then after a certain age, it's not so good if your mother still knows you better than you know yourself. But it's much, much worse if there is a corporation or a government rather than a parent that knows you better than you know yourself.
Does it have to be worse?
Again, it could be used for good purpose. I'm not saying let's stop all technological progress. But if it falls into the hand of a 21st century Stalin, the result is the worst totalitarian regime in history. And we already have a number of applicants for the job of 21st century Stalin.
Now, you notice he mentioned humans being hackable creatures, and you need to know them better than they know themselves. There's not some genius sitting in a lab somewhere who is watching everything you do, and then they're recording information that wouldn't be enough for that. There are algorithms. Here's an example, right? You talk about something, and I know we've all experienced this. You talk about something, all of a sudden when you go on either Google or Instagram or some website, all of a sudden you're seeing ads tailored towards whatever it is you were talking about. You look up something, all of a sudden you're seeing ads tailored towards that. If you're on Instagram and you start watching 1, 2, 3 videos of a certain type, all of a sudden that's what your news feed starts to show you. And they openly tell you that's because they have algorithms that look at that and analyze it and say, hey, recommend these kinds of videos to this person based on the kind of videos they've already watched or that they've liked or how they interact with it. So it's all algorithms that are gathering this information, and then they're able to give like answers or conclusive, data based on that. So they do the hard work. And what they can do is they can, and that's why they came up with all these devices that they have a dual, let's just say like a dual goal, right? Which you get a pacemaker, you get a smartwatch. And the smartwatch, oh man, this is so cool. They have this sensor that can detect, how fast your heart is beating. It can tell you how many steps you've taken today. It can find out how, at what rate, you're going, how intense your workout is. It can detect maybe when your monthly cycle might be coming. Yeah. What else can it do? Well, it's getting all that information. And like what he just said, now this machine, this algorithm knows more about you than you. Because there are certain things you know about yourself, but you don't know how fast your heart is beating at a given moment. You don't know what that could possibly mean. You don't know these things, but it does. And it can compile a profile on you and say, this person is this kind of person. They like to do this. They hate this. They get angry like this. This is what triggers them, and yada, yada, yada. Based on that information, then they can then make predictions. this person is likely to become this person is likely to end up in jail, this person is likely to do this person, and then they can go on an even finer tune level and say, if we put this person in this kind of situation, this is more than likely how they're going to react. So they take that information and they're able to get damn near every single thing about you. That's basically what he's saying. And that's why you have all this technology that is so invasive. Guess what? Those long ass terms and policies that you don't read, that none of us read, whenever you're trying to download an app or buy something digital, in there, they're basically saying, so you know that you're giving us this information, right? You really don't, because you're not going to read it. They'll probably have it on page 486 of like a 900 and something long, this is just an example, terms and services. And so they know you're not going to look at that. And boom, you're openly saying, hey, take all this information. Take as much of it as you need. And they will. They will take all of it. And soon, I think it's either in this video or another one where he says, soon it'll be these machines that are making decisions for you. It'll be these machines that are telling you, wake up at this time, go and drink this coffee. You need to schedule a dental appointment. You need to go over here. And you would be stupid to not listen to them, because they will be of a higher intelligence because they have more information.
So we need to be very, very careful about it. What I meant is that Homo sapiens is now acquiring technologies that can either destroy us or upgrade us, but will not leave us as we are. Authority will...
You hear that? It can destroy you or upgrade you, but it will not leave you as you are.
gradually shift from us to these corporate or government algorithms that will increasingly decide almost everything about our life. You apply to the bank to get a loan, it's an algorithm that decides. You apply to get a job, it's an algorithm. Even questions like what to study or whom to marry will increasingly be decided by these algorithms. To stay in the game, you need to get to know yourself better.
And that they actually showed you that in one of the episodes of Black Mirror. There's an episode in Black Mirror where I watched it a long time ago, so I don't remember the exact details. But they're in this simulation, and the simulation keeps pairing them up. Like, it decides who you date, what woman you meet, and how that interaction goes. And within the simulation, the character, the main character of the episode, he keeps on trying to escape. Okay, but it's actually a loop, and it just keeps on ending up just like that, just like that, just like that. I don't remember the exact details of it, but when he said who to marry, that just brought it to mind, because I think it was a device that was telling them, it was pairing them up, that, hey, you're gonna you go on a date with this person, that's the match for you.
Also, in order to protect yourself against being manipulated by these external forces.
What do you say to those who say, none of this is new, heard it all before, you're sensationalizing what is going on at present, not interested? To which you say what?
Yeah, some things are old, but you now have the biology to understand not only what I say and who I meet, but actually how I feel and what I think. So think 10, 20 years in the future, in North Korea or someplace like that, every citizen has a biometric bracelet on the hand. And they follow not just where you go, but how you feel. If there is a big speech by the big leader on the radio, everybody must listen, you can smile and you can clap your hands, but they know that you're actually angry. This is a kind of power that nobody in history ever had. It's far beyond even George Orwell's 1984. And this is not science fiction. It's not 1,000 years in the future. Some regimes are already starting to build these total surveillance systems. Even now, we have 10, 20 years to do something about it. If we take the wrong decisions, maybe there is no way back. Once you establish a kind of digital dictatorship that has this kind of knowledge of everybody, there is absolutely no way to destroy the system from within.
It's
And that's why, hey, the scriptures say that except the Lord shorten those days, there should be no flesh to be saved. Matter of fact, let me just pull that up real quick. No flesh be saved. Flesh saved. Yeah, let's pull this up. Matthew 24 and 22. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Now, I'm a little curious about this word here for flesh. Let's take a look and see. Sarx. It says here, flesh, the soft substance of the living body, which covers the bones, the body of man, used of natural or physical origin, generation, or relationship. Now, this is an interesting one right here. Let's see what else. The mere human nature, the earthly nature of man. Now, I think this definition is most interesting, right? The flesh here says it's used of natural or physical origin, because when you what basically what they're saying, which he also mentioned, was you will either be destroyed or upgraded, but everybody's going to be augmented to some degree. And he mentioned you have like 20, 30 years to do something about it. But pretty much if things are allowed to keep going on this path, we will eventually reach a point in the world where everybody, because you will be destroyed or upgraded, right? That would not worship the beast should be killed. You will either get down with it or you'll be wiped out. And by the time the world gets to whatever, 30, 20 years from now, if things continued as they were, everybody would either have been in one of those categories. And if you're in one of those upgraded or augmented categories, then you've been changed. Okay, like we literally just went through some of those documents where we're talking about on a cellular level, on a genetic level, you would have been changed from your actual natural origin that you were born with or created as. And you would now be this new, morphed transhuman creature. You wouldn't be the original flesh that you were made to be. And there would be no more of that original, because they will wipe them all out and replace them with these augmented, things. So it's going to be, I mean, we know what it's going to be, but the reality you're facing is if the Lord does not come back and deliver us and change this, this is a dark reality that the world is going in. And everybody, if you look it up, you can see it. We just read an article. I didn't make it up. I'm not the author of that article. They're openly telling you the direction of the world is this. Everybody at some point is going to have this within them in their life. It's going to be a part of what dictates your life. The whole concept of peace, you doing things naturally and just relax, it's going to be gone. There's going to be no such thing. So literally our only way out of this is for the Lord to send the son back and deliver us. Because if that doesn't happen, we're pretty much done. Okay, we're pretty much done. You die and you just, if you be born back into this shit, hey, man.
Seems at the end of this new global order. How important is that there is that disconnect?
That's extremely dangerous, because if we get into an arms race situation with AI, with genetics, with biotechnology, it almost guarantees the worst outcome. Because no matter what dystopian scenario you think about, no matter what dangerous technological development you think about, in an arms race situation, the thinking will be, hey, we don't want to do it, but the Chinese are doing it, or the Iranians are doing it, or the Israelis are doing it, and we can't be left behind. So even though it's dangerous, we'll do it first. And the other guys will say the same thing. And if we get into this arms race mentality, then it doesn't matter who wins the arms race. The loser will be humanity.
And there you have it. So yeah, that's pretty much it on that. That's what I wanted to bring out. And like I said, it's very interesting. So Hey, may the Lord continue to speed up these days that we may get delivered out of here, because if not, this is definitely not going to be a world. This would be a like we've been calling it, a prison planet, with pretty much with no escape. Jeez. This reminds me of the show Beast Machines, where the maximally were augmented from the original forms and reformed. Yeah, sounds just about right. I haven't seen that movie, but hey, it sounds just like that too. So anyway, with that, I'm going to end it here. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachak Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.